Something has been changing for longer than you realize, even if nothing around you seems different yet. There are seasons in life when movement happens quietly, beneath the surface, beyond the reach of your eyes, beyond the understanding of people around you, and beyond the expectations you once carried. If you have felt restless lately, if you have sensed an unusual tension between where you are and where you feel you are meant to be, if you have found yourself reflecting on old wounds, old disappointments, and old chapters that never seem to make sense, it may be because something significant is shifting behind the scenes of your life. Not every important change arrives with noise. Not every breakthrough announces itself before it comes. Some of the most meaningful transformations begin in silence. They begin when nobody notices. They begin when it feels as though nothing is happening at all. You have carried burdens that few people ever noticed. You have smiled through moments that would have caused many others to give up. You have continued moving forward, even when your heart felt exhausted and your spirit felt heavy. There were days when you questioned your own strength because the challenges seemed endless. There were nights when you lay awake wondering whether your patience would ever produce anything meaningful. There were moments when you looked around and saw others moving ahead while you felt stuck in place. Yet somehow, despite everything, you continued. The fact that you are still standing says more about your strength than you realize. Many people only recognize visible victories, but some of your greatest victories happened quietly, when nobody was watching. Every time you chose hope instead of bitterness, that was a victory. Every time you chose kindness after experiencing rejection, that was a victory. Every time you kept your faith despite confusion, that was a victory. Those moments may not have earned applause, but they shaped something valuable within you. The seasons that tested you were also shaping you. The disappointments you experienced were teaching you lessons that comfort could never teach. The delays were developing patience. The loneliness was revealing inner strength. The uncertainty was building resilience. You may not have understood it while you were living through it, but many of the difficulties that seemed pointless were preparing you for responsibilities, opportunities, and blessings that required a stronger version of you. One of the hardest truths to accept is that growth often feels like loss while it is happening. When old relationships fall away, it feels like loss. When doors close unexpectedly, it feels like loss. When plans fail, it feels like loss. When people misunderstand you, overlook you, or walk away from you, it feels like loss. Yet sometimes what appears to be loss is actually preparation. Sometimes what feels like abandonment is redirection. Sometimes what seems like a setback is protection from something that would have distracted you from your purpose. This is why so many chosen individuals spend long periods feeling misunderstood. They are being prepared in ways that are invisible to everyone around them. Their growth is occurring beneath the surface. Their strength is being developed privately. Their wisdom is being formed through experiences that cannot be rushed. If you have felt overlooked lately, remember this. Your value has never been determined by recognition from others. Your worth does not increase when people praise you, and it does not decrease when people ignore you. You are worth far more than the moments that tried to make you feel small. There is something deeply valuable within you that cannot be measured by popularity, approval, status, or attention. The world often celebrates what is loud, visible, and immediate, but some of the most precious things take time to reveal their true worth. A seed beneath the ground looks insignificant before it becomes a tree. A foundation hidden beneath a building receives little attention, yet everything above depends on it. In the same way, many of the most important developments in your life have been occurring where nobody else could see them. God often works in hidden places before revealing visible results. He works in the heart before he works in the circumstances. He develops character before creating opportunities. He strengthens faith before opening doors. This hidden work can feel frustrating because human nature wants immediate answers. It wants immediate evidence. It wants immediate reassurance. Yet some processes require trust. Some journeys require patience. Some transformations require time. Perhaps that is why you have felt such a strange mixture of exhaustion and expectation lately. Part of you remembers the pain of previous disappointments. Part of you remembers the dreams that seemed delayed. Part of you remembers the prayers that appeared unanswered. Yet another part of you senses that the story is not over. Deep within you, there remains a quiet awareness that something is still unfolding. That awareness is important. It reminds you that your journey cannot be measured solely by your current circumstances. Your story has value, even if it has not unfolded the way you expected. The chapters that confused you are not the entire story. The seasons that hurt you are not the entire story. The moments that made you question yourself are not the entire story. There are pages still being written. There are lessons still being revealed. There are blessings still making their way toward you. This does not mean life will suddenly become perfect. It does not mean every challenge will disappear. It does not mean every disappointment will immediately make sense. It means that difficult seasons do not define your destiny. They influence your journey, but they do not determine your final destination. Many people look at their struggles and assume those struggles are permanent. They assume the pain will always feel this intense. They assume the waiting will never end. They assume the loneliness will always remain. Yet life has a way of changing in unexpected ways. Circumstances shift, perspectives grow, healing happens gradually. Opportunities emerge from places that once seemed impossible. What feels permanent today may eventually become a memory that helped shape a stronger version of you. Consider how many times you survived situations that once seemed impossible. Consider how many moments you thought would break you completely, yet somehow you continued. There is a strength within you that kept moving forward even on your darkest days. That strength did not appear by accident. It was built through every challenge you faced. It was developed through every setback you endured. It was refined through every season that demanded more from you than you thought you could give. You may not always feel strong, but your continued endurance is evidence of strength. You may not always feel courageous, but continuing despite fear is courage. You may not always feel hopeful, but choosing not to quit is hope in action. God saw the tears that nobody else noticed. He saw the moments when you felt invisible. He saw the sacrifices you made without recognition. He saw the times you remained faithful when it would have been easier to become bitter. Nothing was wasted. Not every struggle you endured was meaningless. Not every delay was empty. Not every disappointment was pointless. Some experiences were teaching you lessons. Some were protecting you from paths that were not meant for you. Some were preparing you for opportunities that required greater maturity, wisdom, and resilience. There is comfort in remembering that hidden growth is still growth. Just because progress cannot always be seen does not mean it is not happening. Just because answers have not fully appeared does not mean they are not coming. Just because a door remains closed today does not mean it will remain closed forever. Something big can be shifting long before visible evidence appears. Think about the moments in your life that changed everything. Many of them likely began before you recognized their significance. The conversation that altered your path began as an ordinary day. The opportunity that opened new possibilities first appeared as a small event. The lesson that transformed your perspective started as an unexpected challenge. Life often changes gradually before it changes suddenly. That is why patience matters. That is why perseverance matters. That is why continuing to believe in your value matters. Your kindness cost you more than most people will ever understand. There were times when you chose compassion despite being hurt. There were times when you gave understanding to people who never returned it. There were times when you remained gentle while carrying pain nobody knew about. Those choices mattered. They shaped your character. They strengthened your spirit. They revealed a depth of integrity that cannot be manufactured. The world may not always reward such qualities immediately, but they remain valuable. They remain meaningful. They remain part of what makes you who you are. If you feel tired today, remember that tiredness is not failure. If you feel uncertain, remember that uncertainty is not defeat. If you feel overlooked, remember that being overlooked by people does not mean being forgotten by God. The hidden seasons often produce the deepest roots. The quiet years often create the greatest strength. The waiting periods often prepare the most meaningful breakthroughs. Something is shifting behind the scenes of your life, and while you may not yet see the full picture, you can trust that your story is still unfolding. You have come too far to believe that every sacrifice was meaningless. You have endured too much to conclude that every lesson was wasted. You have survived too many difficult chapters to assume there are no better chapters ahead. The same resilience that carried you this far will continue carrying you forward. The same faith that helped you endure difficult seasons can help you navigate what comes next. The same quiet strength that sustained you through loneliness, rejection, disappointment, and uncertainty remains within you today. And as this unseen season continues unfolding, one truth remains constant. You are not forgotten, you are not overlooked, and your journey still carries purpose, meaning, and hope. There are seasons when the greatest evidence that something is changing is not found in what is happening around you, but in what is happening within you. You begin to notice that certain things no longer affect you the way they once did. Old fears start losing their power. Old insecurities begin loosening their grip. Old wounds that once controlled your thoughts no longer dominate every moment of your day. The transformation is subtle at first. It does not arrive with dramatic announcements. It arrives quietly, through small realizations, through moments of unexpected peace, through a growing awareness that you are no longer the same person you used to be. Many people focus entirely on external results, but some of the most significant shifts occur internally, long before they become visible externally. You have been changing in ways that even you may not fully recognize yet. The person who once doubted every step now carries greater wisdom. The person who once felt crushed by every setback now possesses greater resilience. The person who once believed that rejection defined their worth has gradually learned that value comes from something deeper than the opinions of others. This growth did not happen overnight. It was forged through experience. It was shaped by challenges. It was strengthened by moments when you had no choice but to keep going. There were times when you felt emotionally exhausted. There were seasons when you gave everything you had and received very little in return. There were moments when you wondered whether your efforts mattered at all. Yet even during those difficult periods, something valuable was developing inside you. Every challenge was adding another layer of strength. Every disappointment was teaching another lesson. Every setback was revealing another part of your character. Looking back, you may realize that some of the people who walked away were never meant to accompany you into the next chapter of your life. At the time, their departure felt painful. It felt personal. It felt confusing. You may have spent months trying to understand why things unfolded the way they did. You may have questioned yourself repeatedly, wondering what you could have done differently. But with time comes perspective. Sometimes people leave because their role in your journey has been completed. Sometimes relationships end because growth requires space. Sometimes doors close because new ones are being prepared. This does not erase the pain. It does not pretend the loss was easy. It simply reminds you that not every ending is punishment. Some endings are preparation. Some endings are protection. Some endings are part of a larger story that only becomes clear later. If you have spent years carrying the weight of disappointment, it is understandable if hope occasionally feels difficult. Hope requires vulnerability. Hope requires believing in possibilities that cannot yet be seen. Hope asks you to trust that tomorrow can be different from yesterday. Yet despite everything you have experienced, hope continues to survive within you. That alone is remarkable. Many people underestimate the strength required to remain hopeful after repeated disappointments. They underestimate the courage required to continue believing after seasons of waiting. They underestimate the resilience required to keep moving forward when answers remain unclear. But you know what that journey feels like. You know what it means to keep walking without seeing the entire path. You know what it means to trust that your efforts matter even when results seem distant. You know what it means to remain kind in a world that often rewards hardness. You know what it means to maintain faith when circumstances tempt you toward discouragement. Those qualities are not weaknesses. They are evidence of extraordinary strength. The world often misunderstands quiet strength because it does not attract attention. Loud confidence receives recognition. Visible success receives praise. Immediate achievements receive applause. Yet quiet strength operates differently. Quiet strength wakes up after a difficult night and continues moving forward. Quiet strength chooses integrity when shortcuts seem easier. Quiet strength remains compassionate after experiencing hurt. Quiet strength continues believing in purpose during seasons of uncertainty. You possess that kind of strength. It has carried you through situations that others never fully understood. It has sustained you during moments when nobody knew how much you were carrying. It has remained present even when you felt depleted. The truth is that some of your greatest qualities were developed during the very seasons you wished would end. Patience was developed while waiting. Wisdom was developed through mistakes. Compassion was developed through pain. Resilience was developed through adversity. Faith was developed through uncertainty. These gifts were not acquired easily, but they became part of who you are. They are now woven into your character. They influence how you see the world. They influence how you treat people. They influence how you respond to challenges. That is why your difficult seasons should never be viewed solely as periods of suffering. They were also periods of preparation. They were classrooms where life taught lessons that comfort could never teach. They were training grounds where strength was built one day at a time. There may have been moments when you felt forgotten. Perhaps you watched other people receive opportunities while you continued waiting. Perhaps you saw others celebrated while your efforts went unnoticed. Perhaps you wondered whether your own breakthrough would ever arrive. Those feelings are deeply human. They do not make you weak. They simply reflect the reality of carrying hope through difficult circumstances. Yet even during those moments, your story continued moving forward. Progress was occurring beneath the surface. Character was being formed. Perspective was expanding. Healing was taking place gradually. God often works through processes that cannot be rushed. A tree cannot grow overnight. A foundation cannot be built instantly. A heart cannot heal completely in a single moment. Some developments require time because they are meant to last. Temporary solutions may arrive quickly, but lasting transformation often unfolds gradually. That gradual process can feel frustrating when you are eager for change. Yet it is frequently during those slower seasons that the deepest work is accomplished. Consider how much stronger you are today compared to years ago. You have survived circumstances that once seemed impossible. You have overcome fears that once felt overwhelming. You have endured losses that once convinced you that happiness would never return. Yet here you are, still standing, still hoping, still believing that your life carries meaning. That alone is evidence that something powerful exists within you. Your journey has not been perfect, but perfection was never the goal. Growth was the goal. Wisdom was the goal. Maturity was the goal. Strength was the goal. Those things were being developed even when progress seemed invisible. There is a reason why many of the most meaningful blessings arrive after long periods of preparation. The preparation ensures that when the blessing arrives, you are ready to receive it. The preparation develops the character necessary to sustain it. The preparation creates the perspective required to appreciate it. Without preparation, many opportunities would become burdens. Without growth, many blessings would be mishandled. Without wisdom, many open doors would lead to unnecessary difficulties. Looking back, you may discover that certain delays were not evidence of neglect. They were evidence of preparation. Certain closed doors were not evidence of rejection. They were evidence of protection. Certain difficult seasons were not evidence that God had abandoned you. They were evidence that He was shaping you for something greater than you could yet see. This realization does not erase every question. It does not instantly explain every painful experience, but it provides perspective. It reminds you that your struggles existed within a larger story. It reminds you that your pain was not the entire narrative. It reminds you that your future remains unwritten. The chapter you are living now is not the final chapter. There are still opportunities waiting to emerge. There are still relationships waiting to develop. There are still moments of joy waiting to surprise you. There are still answers waiting to appear. There are still blessings waiting to unfold in their proper time. You may not know exactly what lies ahead, but you do not need complete certainty to move forward. You only need enough faith to take the next step. You only need enough courage to continue trusting. You only need enough hope to believe that difficult seasons do not last forever. Every sunrise reminds the world that darkness has limits. Every season eventually changes. Every storm eventually passes. Every chapter eventually gives way to another. The same principle applies to your life. The difficulties you face today are not permanent definitions of your identity. They are temporary experiences within a much larger journey. Your identity is not found in your failures. It is not found in your disappointments. It is not found in the moments when you felt rejected or overlooked. Your identity is found in the strength that kept going. It is found in the kindness that survived hardship. It is found in the faith that remained present despite uncertainty. It is found in the resilience that refused to surrender. Never underestimate the significance of continuing. Never underestimate the value of perseverance. Never underestimate the power of quiet endurance. History is filled with stories of people whose greatest breakthroughs came after long seasons of waiting. Their success was not created in a moment. It was prepared through years of unseen growth. In the same way, something important has been developing within you. Something valuable has been strengthening beneath the surface. Something meaningful has been taking shape behind the scenes of your life. Even now, while certain answers remain hidden, progress continues. Even now, while some prayers seem unanswered, movement continues. Even now, while the future remains partially unseen, your story continues unfolding according to a purpose greater than your present understanding. Hold on to that truth. Let it remind you that your patience matters. Let it remind you that your faith matters. Let it remind you that your sacrifices were not invisible. Let it remind you that your endurance was not wasted. Most importantly, let it remind you that God has not forgotten you. He sees the journey you have traveled. He sees the burdens you have carried. He sees the strength you have displayed. And He sees the person you are becoming through every challenge, every lesson, every victory, and every season of growth. One day you will look back on this season and realize that many of the things that seemed disconnected were actually part of a larger pattern. The moments that confused you, the delays that frustrated you, the doors that closed unexpectedly, the relationships that changed, the opportunities that never materialized, and the struggles that tested your endurance were all contributing to a transformation that could not have happened any other way. Right now you are living inside the process, and because you are inside it, you cannot always see its full shape. A person standing in the middle of a vast landscape can only view a small portion of it at a time. But from a higher perspective, the roads, valleys, mountains, and rivers all connect. In much the same way, your life contains connections that are not yet visible from where you currently stand. This is why it is so important not to judge your entire future based on your present circumstances. A difficult chapter is not the entire book. A painful season is not the entire story. A delay is not a denial of purpose. A setback is not proof that you have failed. The truth is that some of the strongest, wisest, and most compassionate people become who they are because they walked through seasons that forced them to grow beyond what they thought was possible. You have already experienced this in ways you may not fully appreciate. Years ago, there were challenges that seemed unbearable. There were disappointments that felt permanent. There were moments when you thought certain wounds would never heal. Yet time continued moving forward, and so did you. Healing arrived gradually. Understanding arrived gradually. Strength arrived gradually. You learned things about yourself that comfort never would have revealed. You discovered resilience you did not know you possessed. You discovered courage that only appeared when circumstances demanded it. You discovered that even when your heart felt heavy, there was still something within you that refused to quit. That inner determination is one of the clearest signs that your life carries meaning beyond what you can currently see. People often assume that purpose is found only in dramatic accomplishments or public recognition, yet purpose frequently reveals itself in quieter ways. Purpose is present when you encourage someone who feels hopeless. Purpose is present when you choose kindness despite your own pain. Purpose is present when you remain faithful to your values in a world that constantly pressures people to compromise. Purpose is present when you continue growing despite setbacks. Some of the most meaningful contributions a person makes are never fully visible. They occur through influence, example, compassion, and perseverance. You may never know how many people have been encouraged simply by watching you endure difficult circumstances with grace. You may never know how many lives were impacted because you refused to allow hardship to make you bitter. You may never know how many people found hope because your story demonstrated that survival is possible. The influence of a life extends far beyond what can be measured. This is especially true for those who have endured suffering without losing their humanity. Your kindness cost you more than most people will ever understand. It is not always easy to remain gentle after experiencing disappointment. It is not always easy to remain compassionate after being misunderstood. It is not always easy to continue believing in goodness after witnessing selfishness. Yet every time you chose kindness, you strengthened something valuable within yourself. Every time you chose understanding instead of resentment, you protected part of your spirit from becoming hardened. Every time you chose hope instead of despair, you invested in a future that remained unseen. Those choices mattered. They still matter. They are part of the reason you have become the person you are today. There may be moments when you wish your journey had been easier. There may be moments when you compare your path to someone else's and wonder why your road seemed more difficult. Those feelings are understandable, yet comparison rarely tells the whole story. Every life contains hidden battles. Every person carries burdens that others cannot fully see. More importantly, your journey was never meant to be identical to anyone else's. The lessons you needed, the growth you required, and the strength you were developing all demanded a unique path. That does not mean every painful experience was good. It does not mean every hardship was enjoyable. It means that even difficult experiences can produce valuable outcomes. They can deepen wisdom. They can increase compassion. They can strengthen faith. They can reveal abilities that otherwise would have remained dormant. Looking back, you may discover that some of the moments you wanted to escape became the moments that shaped you most profoundly. The future often arrives differently than expected. Many people spend years imagining one outcome, only to discover that something even more meaningful was waiting beyond their original plans. Life rarely follows a perfect script. Detours happen, surprises happen, unexpected opportunities appear, new relationships emerge, fresh possibilities develop. This uncertainty can feel intimidating, but it can also be hopeful. It means that your current circumstances are not the final word on your future. It means that possibilities still exist beyond what you can presently imagine. It means that your story retains the ability to surprise you. If you have been carrying disappointment for a long time, give yourself permission to believe that better days remain possible. Not because every problem will vanish, not because life will suddenly become effortless, but because growth continues, healing continues, opportunities continue, new chapters continue. The future remains unwritten, and unwritten stories contain possibilities. One of the greatest mistakes people make is assuming that the most important parts of their lives are already behind them. They begin believing that their best opportunities have passed, that their most meaningful contributions are finished, or that their future contains nothing new. Yet countless lives demonstrate the opposite. Some of the most significant seasons begin later than expected. Some of the greatest breakthroughs occur after years of waiting. Some of the deepest joys arrive after long periods of struggle. Your age, your setbacks, your disappointments, and your previous mistakes do not automatically limit what God can still do in your life. New beginnings are not reserved for a specific season of life. They remain available wherever hope survives. And hope continues to survive within you, perhaps quietly, perhaps imperfectly, perhaps after many disappointments, but it survives nonetheless. That matters. It matters because hope is often the bridge between where you are and where you are going. Hope allows you to keep moving forward before results appear. Hope allows you to continue believing that your efforts matter. Hope allows you to trust that difficult seasons are temporary. Hope allows you to remember that your value is not determined by your circumstances. You are worth far more than the moments that try to make you feel small. You are worth far more than the failures you regret. You are worth far more than the rejection you experienced. You are worth far more than the opinions of people who failed to recognize your value. Your worth existed before those experiences occurred, and it remains intact today. Nothing can erase the dignity, value, and significance that exist within a human life created with purpose. Sometimes the world becomes so focused on achievement that it forgets this truth. It begins measuring value according to status, income, popularity, or recognition. Yet those measurements are incomplete. Real value is found in character. It is found in integrity. It is found in compassion. It is found in perseverance. It is found in the ability to remain faithful during difficult seasons. By those measures, you have already demonstrated remarkable strength. You have carried burdens that few people ever noticed. You have fought battles that many people never knew existed. You have endured seasons that tested every part of your resolve. And despite everything, you continued. The fact that you are still standing says more about your strength than you realize. It reveals resilience, it reveals courage, it reveals determination. It reveals a spirit that refused to surrender completely, even during the darkest moments. As you move forward, remember this. You do not need to have every answer today. You do not need to understand every delay. You do not need to solve every mystery surrounding your journey. Sometimes peace comes not from having complete understanding, but from trusting that understanding will arrive in time. Sometimes faith means taking the next step without seeing the entire staircase. Sometimes strength means continuing, even when certainty remains unavailable. Something has been shifting behind the scenes of your life. It has been happening through every lesson, every challenge, every moment of growth, every act of perseverance, and every season of waiting. It has been happening while you were learning patience. It has been happening while you were developing wisdom. It has been happening while you were discovering strength you did not know you possessed. And although the full picture may not yet be visible, you can move forward with confidence knowing that your story still matters. Your journey still matters. Your faith still matters. Your kindness still matters. Your perseverance still matters. The tears were seen, the prayers were heard, the growth was real, the lessons were meaningful. The difficult seasons were not your destiny, they were part of your preparation. The chapters ahead may not be perfect, but they can be filled with purpose, healing, growth, and unexpected blessings. Continue trusting that your life contains value. Continue believing that your struggles do not define you. Continue remembering that some of the most beautiful transformations begin where nobody can see them. And continue holding on to the quiet truth that has carried you through so much already. God has not forgotten you. Your story is not over, and the strength that brought you this far will help carry you into whatever comes next.